Okay. Okay. Today I'm not talking too much. We taught a little bit of meditation, And next time, when you recite Heart Sutra, your mind was okay. Like this is something like you can remember that is okay. If you just go to very fast, we don't really understand. Therefore, we're going to learn meditation, okay? If you're not fall asleep, good morning, good evening again. Yeah. Okay. Kesa nganzu ngolma kare ndo wartana. Ane tambo leje te chimbarwa. Tene te jula ya. Ane leje kabla ya sanji chomden de shaki pumbula gom jebshige bachi. Te da nyamdo ane shere de gom jebe bachi. Te nyamdo ya ta sanje do shancho semba. Ane nganzu mikin tonga do mato watene mambo shugde bachi. Ane te sola ya. Ane sanje ge shenje lamne. Ane shariputra ya. semla hirede tuwatende lo cheche ani shancho ko sem ke sambachi ani ta tombani ge ani ten la samlo tane ani lam ngasam chonga la kanji ne jango gore se ta tuwa dodo tombo tene chi tawarwas.
And so we went through the introduction part, right? So in the introduction part, there is, Buddha sitting there in the meditative pose. And there's Avalokiteshvara also, and then Shariputra. And then surrounded to them are all the other sanghas, and then also many other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, those that were obvious and that were also hidden, not obvious to all the common people. And in that assembly, then Shariputra sort of acted to ask the question through the blessing of the Buddha, and to asking question about someone who have already generated bodhicitta and who wants to engage in the practice of the perfection of wisdom or the emptiness. How should he or she engage in the practice of the perfection of wisdom in this once you have entered onto the path, in the five paths, the path of accumulation, path of preparation, and so forth.
Oda tiga da ta thambo kare kana pena le didi ji jabare ani pomonga wata rangje na matabada kaje ani daj khansa da tela tabe ta chu phombo da tela tabe khansa thama rangji marba ta gore tate didi res le didi chi.
And so, then there is the short, a brief answer given by Avalokiteshvara at the beginning, saying that looking perfectly at and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. So that, was the short answer given.
다 드네 아니 마디오지가나 아니 드네 다 아니 베나 소남게 내가서 아니 동반이 대시 동반이라야 아니 지금 삼로 땅와 전라고 내가서 아니 공주가 용와트네 공고 거는데 대 아니 zul라잖아요 zul라 아니 동반이 제조잖아요 아니 랭게 바이 말레스.
And then when he gave more extensive explanation or answer about that practice, then it starts with the form is empty, emptiness is form, form emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. And so, then in more detail about how to practice the emptiness in the path of accumulation through study and contemplation, and then how to practice the emptiness through meditation on the path of preparation.
아니 디시들라야 아니 다 대나지 사람도 남지 아니 다 추탐지 동반이 드냐 마셔마마가네 돈하고 내가서 아니 동반이 만다바 제다잖네마 아니 리시자바인 바레스.
And then it says, in the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition factors, consciousness are empty. So just like that, so you see all things as like that. And then he says, Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty without characteristic. They are not produced and do not cease, and they have no defilements and no separation from defilements, and they have no decrease and no increase. So that's the eightfold emptinesses that is explained how one engages in the practice of the profession of wisdom on the path of seeing.
다 되니 뒤 오더라 안에 고납게 나가서 다 동반이 만나봐 tukche reduk다 아니 지금 봉봉아지 신체 중이지 감접지지 덴바니지 덴데야노 중이지 오더라서 봐 아니 동반이 tukche reduk다 하잖아 마 동이 제시지는 시바이 말이스.
Then after that, then give an extensive explanation on how to practice the profession of wisdom on the path of meditation. Like this, and explained out like 66 emptinesses, and like the 5 and aggregates, and 12 sources, and 18 constituents, and so 2 truths, and so forth. So the 66 emptinesses explained in more detail or extensively. And to be practiced on the path of meditation.
Okay, 다때 가서 이제 대천선 많이 봤어.
So we have gone through up to that much last time, right?
Okay. 당고도 골마 곰지장이 다스다. 저는 소소소 곰잡쇼 왔어. 아니 아니 대체 제외 가라다 저는 다 곰랑 잡는 거 다든 마.
So now we're going to do meditation from the beginning again, okay? So as I explained, then you just have to go through that explanation and thinking about how to meditate on that.
아니 뭐야 다담고 곰잡을 갈래 다담고 benna 우기적도 곰쇼스 아니 대스말레 용 watcha 된다.
So in order to calm your mind first, let's do a breathing meditation first.
다디 주달라 아니 바바 꼼초선라 창달라 간제 아니 산제 추겐데서 미치 템바지.
And then, as he says, homage to the 3 exalted jewels. So remember the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
뭐야 다 소소 예사 대표나 아니 샤그 포무라라 요was어 당쇼스 다기 산지 좀 된데 그 추송사 사자 될래 요같이 아니 소소 누들라 산지 좀 된데 요같이 대냠도 아니 셰레즈 요같이 아니 샤리베야티 소들와 요같이 아니 다 대냠도 아니 비슷한 즉 산지도 샹조선 봐 gelong 근데 지금들이 뭐 뭐시 대요 삼쇼스.
And then, for the purpose, for a special purpose, you can just imagine yourself being in the place, the Rajgriha, and a vulture's mountain. And then in front of you, is the Buddha Shakyamuni. And next to him is the Avalokiteshvara. And then next to them is the Shariputra. And then surrounded to them are all the great assembly of monks and great assembly of bodhisattvas.
아니 산지 좀 내내 띵이들 냠바셔가니 소소야 아니 다 최담저 때내 따바도 요 말에 선다랑 선택되고 그래서.
Just like Buddha Shakyamuni is absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination, and imagine oneself also thinking of all things, all phenomena, phenomena being empty of inherent existence.
아니 바바 쉐레데 제 단딩아도 버리 쉐레데 차변나 차셔봐 야무나지 짬고름 비게 손으로 버텐데 지금 소소치 롤치 샤고 그래서 답변에 짬고름 못 지금 가서 송전하여 갈아야 미모모 되게 와 근데 슈트 가나쇼 안디 거라고라 슈트 톰보데 슈트 춘주데 거라 텐데 로삼다고 그래서
And also think about Avalokiteshvara in front of you, and Avalokiteshvara in the Avalokiteshvara form, or like His Holiness the Lama's form, just like like when His Holiness the Lama is teaching, he's sitting on a high throne and surrounded to him, all the audience of the monks and the great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas like that.
테네 아니 샤리프가야 아니 쉐레즈라야 아니 샹초고 셈께네 아니 람가섬 정말라야 아니 라바이나 간지 랍고 그래스 어디 저와트 송삼고 그래스
And then think that Shariputra is asking this question. So once having generated bodhicitta, if one wishes to, train in the 15 paths, how should one train?
아니 디레 될라야 아니 딘디가 리지 포다 리지 포모 아니 샤라지 버다 셈바 또마니랄 아니 냠셀렘 삼게 된다 요와이나 아니 다즈 폼보다 아니 따주 강사니가 랑은이 맞았다고 그래 삼 송송 삼고 그래서
And then, think that Avalokiteshvara is giving the answer, saying that if you wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, then one should see all the phenomena, all the basis, of the designation, the basis of the designation of the I, and the I itself, are all empty of inherent existence.
오야 다 지나서 대삼쇼 와서 아니 나라야 소소 나와나지 메게 폼보다야 소소 나와나지 요토요 말에테 딱 검트 잡쇼 와서
And so now that think that upon yourself. Think that I do not exist from its own side, and just like I does not exist from its own side, the basis on which I is imputed, the five aggregates, also do not exist from its own side. So thinking like that, just keep your mind on that thought.
오야 다 대주더라 다 놓서 다 주동바고 동바니도 동바니를 주셔 많이 넣어 동바니를 주시면 되인다 아니 주동바고 다 소소 알아서 다 찾아 소소고 수보 소소고 라판치야 와도 소소 나와나지 아니 지자다 켈라 마테바 트비오 마레스 다 소소 juk 라지 마트로 삼고 그래서 아 담슈뭇 안뭇
So in the detailed explanation, there's a form, is empty, and emptiness is form, and so forth. And so now think about the form as your one form, your body, your physical body, like your arms, your legs, your head, all these things that you can see and touch and feel, do not exist from its own side without depending on the causes and conditions, things like that.
오나 주요만 주요레스 주 아니 rangi matrebe zu na tamte thara zugres te lokshago zu your sambores.
So the form is empty, but doesn't mean form does not exist. Form exists. There is a form, and so the form that is empty of existing inherently and appearing merely as a form, is the form. So you should think that that's the form that exists.
Well, that is the Changa Susan Tanika Tova Kario, tell Susan Samashawachi, Tova Kanjina, Tova de Dukan, Semchi Kari, Sogan Chita. There's some chat with Jilla, Tova Teyan, Susan Hanajime, some shows.
And then think about your own feeling, whatever feeling you are having now, any good feeling, bad feeling, suffering or happy feeling. So that feeling itself is also empty of existing from its own side.
They want to Tambochanga Tova the Montevachi, Tova Kanjina.
And so in order to think that feeling is empty of inherent existence, now first identify the feeling itself.
Okay. Tijilan Dishi said the Tambosala Shavachis. The Disana Shavan Dishi Raji and now at the map some goris, Tambon Dishi Sam Shago goris.
And then like that also think about the discrimination. First, you should get the discrimination, and then think about that discrimination. Do not exist from its own side.
And Tijilan Dije Lord Shavachis. Dije the Susan Lola Shavachi, Tayan now at the map some goris.
And then after that, think of the compositional factor, and then also the compositional factor do not exist, where they appear to us.
Ow.
Hijala Susan number Shiba, Suzujilla, Rixam, Shitsam, and yet more Haguna, Te and Lord Shavachi, Tayan and Raman Matab some goris.
And then also after that, think about the consciousness, the mere knowing or mere understanding. That itself also does not exist from its own side.
Oh, yeah. That tig, any Pombo or Ranji Matavi, 고와 쌈데 촐람도 조롱은데 가서 곰다데 송바레스.
And then, so that emptiness of these five aggregate, just a mere understanding, of that emptiness is how it is practiced, on the path of accumulation and path of preparation. I'm sorry, path of accumulation.
다디 질라야 답변나 풍봉하고 라지 매 마트한테 빼서네 다 추탐체 아니 랑은 잡아요 말에 삼고 그랬다 소소 학고와 나야 학 마고 예세 탐체 라지 마트가 삼고 그랬어 다만에 추탐체.
And so just like that, all phenomena, just like the five aggregates, all other phenomena, and everything that appear to you or do not appear to you, so everything that exists is empty of inherent existence.
어디 다디 질라야 아니 천님에 봐세요 그러는 셔당으로 소배나 못다바세야다 따바세야다 보세야 부모세야 돼 아니 파셔당게 소소시 타니 오르 열다이나 던조야 아는 거 천이 잡아 대바트바요 말에 삼고 담보 아니 지 소소소 미다 안 천이 때들로 샤고 그래서.
So then, after thinking about that emptiness, then think about all the phenomena without characteristics. So, like there is a characteristics of the prominent phenomena, impermanent phenomena, like male, female, and so forth. But there is no characteristic of any of these things from its one side.
뭐야 디젤라 다 알아서 배나 제단 저거 아니 비 뜻이 로토 신동 저거도 강가 jel라드는 저거에 남자도 셈을 삼을 당쇼스 뭐 이제 계획을 가야 받대.
And then think of all the compounded phenomena or impermanent phenomena, like the trees, the plants, the flowers, fruits, and all these things. These are how they all exist by depending on cause and conditions. And so think about how they are produced. So they are produced, but they are not produced inherently. So think on that, contemplate on that.
뭐야 다 뒤질라 배는 간소 미께네 겐로요 봐 신시도 배나 다다 신도 간가 날로도 마 매와차 아니야 동가 야지와 아니 지금도 매와차로 디그랑지도 찾아 선물이 당쇼스.
And then think about the impermanence of all these compounded phenomena, like people who are born and who age and then die, and all these plants and trees, they grow and they die, and so how they all disintegrate moment by moment, and then eventually everything cease to exist. So it's a thing about how they all come to the end.
대야 라지 테벤 가파 라지 테벤은 가요 말이야 좀 tellat다 야마샤스.
So they cannot, they cannot come to end or cease inherently. So they all come to cease, they all come to end or dead, die eventually, but none of these things come to cease inherently.
오야 다 타완도 봐 강사 때 나라수지 집에 니모 두섬 내차 셰당 아니 셈바 집으면 봐도 참아 로리 시아와지스.
And then those who wishes to be free from cyclic existence, think about all the delusions, defilements in our mind, like attachment, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and so forth.
단다 소소지 셈바 집으면 봐도 아니 지 수보 마대와네 또 참아 로리 시아와지스.
And then also think about the discomfort of your body and the mind.
대야 라지 트바 매스미 아티컬 때는 야마샤스.
And those also do not exist inherently.
뭐지 다 디질라 아니 텐데 뇨모다 트라베가 타바감 아야 만나 뇨모다 트라야 트라제기 베나 샴니제 샹제고 셈라서 봐야 아 살로지 셈지 코르바치스.
And then also think about the separation from these defilements. Think about the positive qualities in the mind, like loving kindness, compassion, and so forth.
대양 라지 트바 매삼고로 동상 공고레스.
And even those do not exist inherently. So think on an emptiness of inherent existence of all those things.
다 텐데 섬로 땅스베 질라야 아니 뇨모미 쇼 아니 대차 시당라서 도서야 참아야 아니 야 로르 치샤로 치쇼스.
Then again, think about all the delusions, defilements, like attachment, anger, ignorance, and so forth.
도서야 우차네 코 매와차 요바지 섬 땅쇼스. 바 요바지.
So in nature, in reality, they can all be seized.
이나 라지 응원에 맞추는 거 매바 뇨런 거 요 말에 삼쇼스.
But cannot decrease or become less inherently.
오야 다야 먹게 접고 점다. 샴니제 샹적고 셈 아니 지 간지 소소 내가 같은 개회 샤바강 샤바 타마 소소야 삼마씩 점바치 줘스.
And then think about all the positive qualities of your mind, like the morality of abandoning 10 virtuous actions, the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth.
어때야 시다 고네 패야 요래 야진 패야 요다 이나야 라지 테베 고네 안 패야 요 말이 식삼쇼스.
So this can be increased, they can enhance and increase, but inherently they cannot be enhanced or increased.
뭐야 다데 또반에 제조 통나고 가도 곰자다더래.
And so that's the eighth set of emptinesses, how you meditate on the path of seeing.
Okay, how's it? Are you guys meditation? 도우치는 곰자고다. 곰자고래 지지리니 담보 지지에 빼나 지지에 대해 삼보다. 근데 때 라지 맞으면 이제 삼고 요리로.
And so that's how you're supposed to meditate on emptiness. First think about the subject, and then think how that subject does not exist from its own side, or think about how the subject is empty.
Okay. 다들 문제는 다들 뭐 곰잡 들어가 가져가.
Should we continue to meditate on all those things again?
Okay. 다들 곰잡인다. 저도 니코마요 와.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little more meditation, okay? Don't fall asleep.
저도 자다 전화도 오늘 지금.
If you need to drink tea or water, drink now.
Yeah, one question. When you say from your own side, can you
explain? Means like without depending on cause and condition.
Oh,
depending on cause and condition by itself.
Thank you. So it exists by itself. It doesn't need anything.
It does not exist by itself.
It doesn't exist by itself.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It needs a cause.
By depending on cause and condition, so it doesn't exist by itself.
Air, water, earth. Okay. The elements.
Okay. 다 반드니다. 다 들봐 mambo다. 다 mambo 그거다.
Okay, now we're going to go right one by one. There are a lot of it.
뭐야? 다 안에 가르고. 샤리바 대답은 동반이라 줌에서 들려들. 다들 골람 가서 다 동반이 독치치지 어디 검다들했어.
And so here it says, therefore Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, and so forth. So this is now on the path of meditation. So that's where you meditate on 66 emptinesses.
And
so now at this time you think about all kinds of forms.
Tende sozo na daga zukanya bataya ane rangani yomare samtela rajete tombare sambe tonsala nyamate shawres.
And so this is form, right? So we're talking about the form aggregate. So there's all sorts of form, like the visual form, that the tangible forms, or like olfactory forms, and all these kind of forms, right? So any kind of forms. So all these forms do not exist from that one side.
뭐야? 다 되네 아니 작가에 말로 시켜봤어. 다. ဒါခါရအင်ဘလောရှိရပါချေချောဒါညင်ဘောဒါမညင်ပါ
other than success, sukkot samaiza. Sukdati를 just samaiza.
다 단다 죽 삼아대 죽 요체 시당 죽 요체 다 되는 다 미세 그래 단다 시당대 담보도 죽 간가지 다 되는 야 미세지 다양 작가이 봐다 다
네. 근데 디나지도 하는 다 디다라 속제가 디도 초로도.
죽 메타메 로메르자 말해
말하면 돼. 동반이로 쏘면 처음에 두시면 되잖아. 넘어서 민면하면서.
알레레레레레 뭐다 다르지 다 대용점 다 당연하지 지네요 뭐다 나지르시 아니 다양 소수지 초와 소수야 초와 간리지나 소수 초와대 소수 야지 참바지
And then after that, is the feeling, all kinds of feeling. Think about all kinds of feeling.
된리그 초와 대야 아니 나다 맞아봐 인생에 동상을 쓸지 참바지 있을 때 그냥 마셔
And then those feelings are also empty of in existing in a way they appear to us. So think about emptiness in that way for a little while.
와야 다 디시세드 로르 샤와치스 디시세드
And then think about discrimination.
대야 아니 소존 사마나지 매선 동상이 받으셔
And that also does not exist like we think about it. So think of emptiness in that way.
다 대질라 아니 늦어야 돼 하는 로르 샤와치
And then after that, think about compositional factor.
대양 소소 사마나지 나나지 매스로
And then also that does not exist in a way they appear to us or in the way we think about it.
대질라 소소 넘버 10에 대해서 때 참바치
And then after that, think about the consciousness.
대양 소소 사마나지 매스
And that also does not exist like we think.
뭐지 다 대라야 안에 봉봉아 안에 라시 마다 왔다 와서 되레스
And so that's those are the five aggregates, seeing them as not existing inherently.
다 대질라 가도 현재 중이다
And then after that are the 12 sources.
야, 다 담보 소수 맥대에 담다 줘들어 맥매에서 돼 소수 맥대 소수 다 맥세드 간이 로드가 가지 소수 맥대에 로르치 코치 조스
And then first one is the I, says there's no I. So think about the I, E-I, E-Y-I, E-Y-E, I.
다도 소리를 샤마까지 맥지 나지 나와지 제리 여 어떤 참마메 예가 뭐도 받아 참마메 까마레레 섬다쇼 담보 때 레레레 로샤고다 레레레
So there's no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound,
대천으로 뭐지 대만으로 뭐지 이해면서 대샤
no mind. So up to that, think about each of them and then how they're empty, like they appear to us.
오야 다 텔라 현재 중이라 그랬어 오마마 대대지 대지 다 뒤질라야 아니 믹시에 가려 죽래 암조 예 가려 다래 아니 나여 저 제가 아니 로 아니 리가 레자 아니 추지 현재 예때 추담저로 제자 아니 여도 소리 다 단다 담보도 일치지 단다 다 여도 좀 해서 뭐 대야레레레 죽로라샤 달로라샤 레레 로샤 때 때메 섬레레 때때 섬다쇼
And then think about others, now the visible form, that is the object of the eye consciousness. The sound, there's the object of the ear, and then smell, the object of the nose, the taste, object of the tongue, and then the object of the touch, that's the object of because of body. And then there's the object of the mind is all phenomena. So all these are also empty of inherent existence, and empty of existence in the way they appear to us. So think about that for a little while.
오지 다 텔라 현재 중이라 다 뒤에 오달랑아서 아니 감쪽전도 그래서 담주 유물제죠.
Oh, sorry. After that, the 18 constituents or the elements.
아니 텔라 무파 이지 감투 그러 때만남시 감투 아니 때옹부 감투 때만남시 감투 무파 이지 감투 가제 미시의 댄사 미시의 댄사가 옹부 대축 아니 시바축 되게 예축시 그래 돼야 돼.
And so there are 6, the 6 times 3, 18, right? Like that's like the 6 consciousnesses, And then, so then there's the basis on which the 6 consciousnesses reside, like the 6 organs, and then the 6 objects that are perceived by these 6 consciousnesses. So there are like 18 like that. Okay, 18 elements. So then first thing about this, the 6 organs, like in the case of the eye consciousness, there's an eye organ, right? And where the eye consciousness is at, then the visual form, is the object of the eye consciousness. So those 3 like that. So then, all these 18 elements, think about, all of them as as much as you can, and then think how they are all empty of existing, where they appear to us.
How's it? Okay. This is enough to meditation. Otherwise, you become enlightened. Or you're too body. 저는 두 전에 혈압님 보고 그걸 곰자고 대 타마카시 저는 혈압님 동기도 되지다 아니 갈 놈도 와.
And so you're supposed to meditate on emptiness like that, when you recite on Heart Sutra. Of course, it is not easy, but you can do it, once you get used to it. So first, you do it like this slowly, and then more and more you do, then more and more you become familiar with it. And then as you become more familiar, then it will be easier to do it very fast.
Okay. 어제 다 뒤질랑도 땐데라 중이더래도 와.
So after that are the 12 link of dependent risings, right?
다 땐데라 중이데 주로 신이 왔다. 나도 코와 깨와 렘발라 다 땐데라 중인 코한 코도 와.
So you know what are the 12 link of dependent originations, right? So in order to be born in the cycle existent, and you have to go through the 12 link of dependent risings.
봐. 제가 마리바세데 담보래다. 마리바세데 담보이 바레스.
So the first one is ignorance.
아니 마리바데 레스 아니 되지지 레스 마리베가 코 내가 제사보다 아니 간지 늦지 레서다 싸우고 요래서.
And so soon after, because of the ignorance, then you create the karma. I know what's called the volition or karma.
그러와. 아니 대제사 아니 남시대 참여 거. 다 남시까지 남시 찍으려 남시 바샤도 남시다 샹도 그래서.
And then whatever karma you have created, the imprint of the karma will be left on the consciousness. So the third one is the link, dependent link of consciousness.
제자 다 던져 빼나 감소 단델라야 제와다 세심도 뭐보자 다도 가 라기메다 고뉴 사이로 와서 좀 되는 고뉴 사그랬어. 아니 페나 저통하고 오시나 파 반다 제당을 한 바도 오시나 담보 말이 받는 데제 되는 남시도 고 바람도 용 그래서 와시다 다 남시 요요거든. 다 남시 땡데서 돼 고제 안 데제 바샤 샤사바다 고치기 그래.
And so I mean, then after that, it tells about how we are born in secularism because of these three. So those are the cause, the throwing karma, the throwing causes, and so as long as we have these three, then that will lead us to be born in secular existence.
Okay. 다 뒤질에 가르쳐야 돼. 좀더 하고 해.
So what comes after the consciousness?
Name and form.
Mingsu.
제가 때 노트 나도 잠깐 쓰기로 왔어. 레사차도 군대 조용 말아.
And so that karma, that's left, right? The imprint of the karma that is left on the consciousness has to be activated, right? It has to be nourished or activated. The name and form are the result, right? So you don't get the result right away, before activating it. Before nourishing it or activating it, you can't get the result. So that's the wrong sequence, right?
Okay, how about Harvard? Do you have answer?
So 12 links dependent origin, ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form. So name and form is, so you want me to explain what is name and form, how that comes into being?
After the consciousness, then who come after consciousness?
Ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form.
No, so it's saying like, the sequence in which they come through. Like the first you have the ignorance, right? Because
Ignorance.
We create the karma. And
Yes.
then you create the karma, the imprint of the karma is left on the consciousness. And then what happens, to the imprint of the karma that is left on consciousness? What happens to that? So that's the next.
Yeah. At grasping, it becomes existence.
Ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form, 6 sense. Ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form, 6 sense power, 6 sense. Wait a minute. Ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form, 6 sense. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, Daddy. Oh, Deborah, what Jennifer is it?
Ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form, 6 sense. Contact, feeling.
Potentializes it. And that's existence is the potentialized level of that karma, and then that results in birth.
Well, that's way later, isn't it?
But
That's correct. This is it. That language test. This is perfect.
So yeah, so that imprint of the karma left in the consciousness is activated, by the grasping, clinging, and existence. So that after the consciousness comes the grasping, and then comes the clinging, and then comes the existence.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
그래서 나 말이 대신 남치들은 폐지하기 전라 그래. 폐지하기 전.
And so those are the three that I mentioned earlier. There were throwing cause, and those are the ignorance, karma, and the consciousness.
스트레스 받으려는 접시지 지라래. 내보다 폐지래. 이는 내보다 트레스 동에 대한 스트레스 받을 시작이 그랬어.
Then this grasping, clinging, and existence are the actualizing causes.
Okay. 제나 안에 단다 페이지 좀 파빈 레벨라 아니다 무즈네 남식 받으 시작을 했어.
And then the throne result, right? The throne results, are the name and form, the perceptions, the contact, feeling, and so forth.
그러와. 페이지 전 안에 단 레벨은 레벨라 안에 네 깨간이 샤지 그러와. 게베드는 샤. 단소에나 단소 셔다단다 아니 뭐야 다 되는다고 해서야. 파빈 레벨라 아니 페이지 파빈 레벨라 무즈네 레벨바 시대샤. 아니 파빈 레벨치. 레벨 레벨라 깨간이 샤 그랬어.
And then the birth and the aging, Gashimi mare.
가시냐. 개와다 시와니.
The aging, birth, aging, and death, are the actualized results.
오케이, 드네로 변화 담보 안에서 드네 아니 세바체, 대지 램바체, 아니 대지 세바체네, 아니 대근 레벨라다 무즈, 대제의 아니 현실적, 대제에서 초와, 아니 대제에서 아니 그러, 그래 레바체 대제 초와체 그래 was.
And so then as the result of that, the activating karma, the activating cause, the actualizing or activating cause, the grasping, clinging, and the existence. And because of that, then you will have the name and form. And then after that, you will have the source of perceptions. And then you will have the contact. And then from the contact, you will have the feeling. And so those, those are the throne results.
아니 변화 시에 텐데도 무즈지 텐데서 대념도 제거 대서 찔러 그랬어.
And so actually the dependent link of the birth and the dependent link of the name and form happens at the same time.
나라서 변화 지테벨나 아니 고나 짜세 칼을 수분들 냐마 변화 게라 그러었어. 아니 텐데가 나라 라가 말 깨바다 깨베텐데 잡아티냐로 was. 깨베텐데. 로. 오지. 깨베텐데 무디들 다 티념자 그러봐. 대개지 니바네 아니 깨베텐데 잡용 그랬어.
And then from the second moment of the name and form or the birth, dependent link, then comes the aging, the dependent link of aging. So usually, conventionally, when we say aging, we say like people when they grow old, when they get wrinkles on their face, when they have gray hairs, and then you say old, right? Age. But in Dharma, in Dharma terminology, we use this term that age is like you're aging, from the second moment of birth. From soon after you're born, you're aging. You're becoming older and older, like that. So that's aging.
제다다 너무 샤워도 발라 스트레스 받을 때문에 좀 걸려변나 다 파만 연소자니 땅아데 그런 데네 아니 드마다 고소 뭔가도 빼자나라 너는보다 따다보지 못 보자 달바탄 들어들만 용거단 디값도 들만 용거만 보시.
And so these are all happening, like from the time the parents, copulating, and then the consciousness, conceiving into the womb, and then from there, then it forms like a fetus, and then the fetus, then forms these like protrusions from here and there. So all that's like, it was talking about all how the name and form. So this is all in the name and form, and then from there, then you get the perceptions, and then you get the contact. You start to touch here and there, and then from there, you get the feelings and so forth.
어디 두전에 다 된데 가서 빼나 보고 마치베 가다 보고 깨세베 가도 저도 맞지 거거든.
And so this is all happening in the womb, right? From before the birth, so when the child is developing in the womb.
단디컬은 대신 이제 뭐뭐 단데 고뇨 타고는 내가 그 가리 치게 가리 냐로 가는 거 대신 요다 뭐 타고요 다들 정도 고뇨 타이래서 봐.
And so it's you know the dependent link of the birth. You know, when we say that, actually it starts, you know, from the time it the consciousness was conceived in the womb, right? And then from there, then it explains, you know, all in detail how, you know, the process go through, but it's all complicated. We don't have to go through that now.
제대좀 다대좀 간지 머리배 레그사와 레그 파차 남식 되제 텔라스네스 바스 땀네 엔능아도 기발랭게 다대 고라는 되게다.
And so, in short, you can understand that you know, because of the ignorance, you create the karma, and the imprint of the karma is left on the consciousness, and that karma which is left on the consciousness, when it is activated by the clinging, grasping, and the existence, then, you know, then we get the birth. You know, we get birth, and then from there it comes to, you know, all the other dependent link, you know, of name and form, subconscious, and the perception, the context, feeling, and then after that, you know, the birth, aging, death, and so forth.
오케이. 제가 두 전에더니 짜자 지는가 좀 코안코드 그래서 고장장 코드 그래.
And so if you can have that much of understanding, then that's good enough, you know. So that's how we circle in cyclic existence.
제가 제와 들랑가로 소페는 미시버 원가 안에 레사 레지 바자 남시든데 샹다. 다 제와 셔말랑가도 아니 레버 트면 그래서. 배나 제와 배지 된다 보이나.
And so right now, you know, you're creating karma. You know, out of ignorance, we create so many karma. So all those karmas are left, and the imprint of all those karma are left on our consciousness. And then when those karmas, when those imprint, you know, the karma in the consciousness gets you know, activated by clinging, grasping, and existence, and then we will have the result, the birth, and so forth.
단다로나 배나 지나서 배차샤바이나 단다 간도그 배나 지나서 먼저 배를 제가 레사고나 다 배를 지나 간데 야 보여를 좀 되게 개완도 워도 치치치치 개친담라 치니 되게 바자된 남자가 샤도고요.
So, like, say, you know, you want to be born in Tibet, like, say, or you think about, oh, Tibet is such a nice place, it would be so nice to be born there, and so forth. So you think like that, and so with that thought, then you do something, you know, like, you know, do prayers or something, and may I be born in Tibet, like that, you know. So then that karma, and that you create that karma, then the imprint of that karma is left on your consciousness.
다 대마이보다 나 지난번에 저도 시민도 ben에 드네라 슈 차대와이나 안돼 야보지 근데 지 차대나 소소 대제와 레사로 그랬어. 무슨 말이야?
And then also, if you are so attached, you know, to, like, you know, cats and dogs, and like say, oh, this is so cute, so nice, like that, you develop attachment to this, then you create a karma to be born as a dog and cat.
아니 근데 간도 시갈라가 아니 되게 레들라 시담네 제와셔말라 아니 저도 심이 째로 그랬어.
And so at the time of death, you know, that karma, the imprint of that karma, you know, that one develops being attaching to the dog and cat will be activated, and then in the next life, you know, you'll be born as a dog or cat.
에타테 답변나 멋지와래 페페나 가도 멋지와 페제렌도 사나 양주말 깨고 좀 tel라 깔리 잡지 되게 레드 슈첨보이나 셔갈라가 tel라 셀레스 무시 시타네 아니 제와시마텔라 아니 좀 미티한 거야 봤어.
And so, depending on which karma gets activated by the clinging, grasping, you know, grasping, clinging, and existence at the time of death, then that will ripen first. You know, so if you know, have this, if you activate the karma to be born as human being, you know, with the grasping, clinging, and existence at the time of death, then you will be born as a human being.
오케이 다 간지 땐데 거데 빼 무드 제원 고뇨 타고 쇼에 텔레라 온고 고고 비안도 셔다 간지 땐데 타지도 지 참지세 가랭행게 노도 타고 쇼여다.
And so there's so much, you know, about this to uplink of dependent origination, how one create the karma, and how this karma gets activated, in how many lifetime one will complete the karma, you know, the circle of the karma, in how many lifetime, in one lifetime, or in 2 lifetime, or 3 lifetime, and so forth. So it's really very detailed in explanation that we can go through.
제가 렌데가 나전데 많이 그래. 렌데가 빼는 데시지 레사. 렌데에서 듣는 마탄 데시 렌데 찾아가는 데시 자고 그러다.
And so when we talk about the dependent origination, you know, like it's talking about the ignorance, right? So there's a lot about the ignorance, and then it talks about the karma, you know, which is created by ignorance. And so then it talks about all kinds of karma, right? So it will talk about all kinds of karma. So there's a lot, to talk about or to study about,
아니 디 그놈 좀 말이 봐서 다 말이 봐서 가리에 봤대 디콜라 양도시 빼져와요 그러스.
And so the ignorance, which which is the motivational mind, right, for creating the karma. And so then it also explains a lot about that.
오케이 다들만 좀 먹었지. 다들 아니 텐데요 주니 텐데다 다 말이 바네 아니 가시스베 발매해야 되고 아니 마리바 요르다 예나야 아니 테라지 트바요 마레스 다 마리바 메나 아니 되지면 남시 메차도 그러고 제다 아니 텐마야 찍서나 아니 텐지 룬종고네 도도 찍으레스 다 찍루도 룬종고도 요레스.
And then also there's no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance and so forth up to no aging and death and no cessation of aging and death. So you're talking about all the 12 linga dependent origination, right? So so there's no if there's no ignorance, there'll be no karma. If there's no karma, there'll be no imprint will be left on a consciousness, and so like that in the forward order and in the reverse order.
오케이. 아니 드네 답변한데 마리바 카림바 대선부터 대라지 마트반 대제선부터 도레레 라지 마트 삼다고 되죠나.
And so then think about all these 12 linga dependent originations. Think about ignorance and how ignorance did not exist from its own side. And then think about the karma and how it doesn't exist from its own side. And then think about the consciousness and how it doesn't exist from its own side, like that. So if you have time, then you should think about all of this, one by one, as being empty of inherent existence.
오케이 다시 뭐 땅한테 들고 도도 얼마 곰대 잠바 곰대 펜소한테 펜사를 해야 되잖아.
And so like earlier we did a meditation a little bit, right? Was it helpful? Do you think it would be helpful like that, to do like that?
제가 그 사메트마 라지 마트마다 레레 지제레 삼다 대라지 마트 지제 삼다나 안테 펜게다고 곰 잡다로.
So usually, if you just think how things do not exist inherently, and then think about one particular object or particular subject, and then think about that each subject, and then think how each subject do not exist from this one side or do not exist inherently. If you think like that, then it's more helpful.
제가 지나서 다 대리선이 되셔나 양주 혈아님은 걸마 내지 두 전에야 특랑 되마고 같이 들들들들들 삼도 직다는 야보시오 그래 특랑 되마고 같이 들어 담보 특랑 왔다 근데 특 되마고 같이 삼도 차단 샤도도 왔다.
And so then think about that, meditating on emptiness and as you recite the Heart Sutra. So first, of course, you have to depend on the word. So you recite the word, and then with that word, with the help of the word, you can remember, think about all these things, and then think how these things are empty of inherent existence. And then later, you can just contemplate without even thinking about the word. Just contemplate on emptiness of all these things.
어디 차산으로 먹어지 드링도 강한 소리 봐 대바친도 들어 봐 배나 돈이 배나 감쪽제 발로 봐
거들래.
감쪽제 발로 봐
네, 거들적으로 먼저.
다 차서 주저 가대죠 나 산이는 이제 네 주마 사뱀 살하발랑 간도 내가 매웠지 내가도 공수 소위 제가서 곰 잡쇼스.
And so then we can do you can do this meditation whenever you get a time, and up to what we have done, up to that 66 emptinesses that is practiced on the path of meditation, right? And so so next Wednesday we will not have class. We'll have a vacation next week, and so you can spend that time to do meditation on emptiness.
제가 도 전에 샤람님만 되게 내가 살못하나 아니 슈만에 빼면서 곰자 야보쇼 레그로.
And so as you're reciting the Heart Sutra, also contemplate and meditate in this way on emptiness. And then later, when you recite, then it will be helpful.
Okay. Okay, how about last week the questions? What the question?
The question was,
Who has answered?
does anybody have an answer?
Okay, Howard. Hey, Mark, do you have question answers?
I have to confess, I forgot to do it. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at it now, though. I'm so sorry.
Okay, then if you forgot, then you don't have answer.
No. I'm so sorry. I got to be honest. I forgot to do it.
That's awesome. That's good. Okay, who else? What? Okay, yeah.
Well, I'll just read the two questions. The first was, at the beginning, why is it taught to meditate on the 5 sense objects, the form? And then the second question was, why is it applied, emptiness applied to the 5 aggregates first?
가로 가로.
먼저 당부터 돈이 시작 가서 되네. 수기 땡기 돈이를 가르치는 시작을 했어.
Okay, who has the answer? Yes, yeah, Jennifer, go ahead.
I don't know if it's the right answer, but I actually have 2 answers for the why it's applied to form first, why at the beginning it's taught to meditate on form. I mean, the first one, Geshe, as you explained, is that form is like the vessel, sort of the container for the other aggregates. And therefore, once you realize the emptiness of inherent existence of the form, it's easier, to apply to the other aggregates. I think that's what, but I also saw an explanation, because at that point on the path of accumulation, that the reason that they start with form is empty, emptiness is form, is because of realizing that form is empty helps with renouncing cyclic existence, and then realizing that emptiness is form helps so that you don't fall into the extreme of solitary peace. So the 2 extremes of existence and solitary peace. That was one interpretation I've heard why they start with form, because at that level.
That level is separate. We can all call the feeling and feeling also same. 가래 초발 집어잖아. 근데 되게 단단하시나 되게 단단하시 세계로 와.
Yeah, so you clear that, it will eliminate that extremes, the grasping at the extremes, even by contemplating on the feeling. So why on the form first?
I think because the conception of forms as inherently existent that's how a strong attachment arise. I think.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, who has that's good. That's a good answer. Yeah. Any other answers? How will you have?
It came to mind that I don't know if I'm on the right path with this, Geshe, but upon looking at this, I thought it might have been suggested as a place to start because it's the easiest. It's the most gross level of understanding emptiness is, via the 5 senses and the forms. It's like the very beginning. It's the most gross level. So it kind of made sense that would be the first place to start. That was my thought. I don't know if I'm on the right track or not. Sorry.
I think there's like you and Jennifer same answer, right? Any other answers? Deborah, do you have? No, you mute yourself.
Margaret has an answer.
Oh, okay, Margaret, go ahead.
Hi, Geshe and everyone. So Geshe, I wrote down this in my notes. Why start with form as being empty? My note says our form is like the house, and the feelings that we have are like the things inside the house. Discrimination and compositional factors are like the things inside the house that's being used, and consciousness is what holds everything together. So I have written this now, and I think to me it means if form is the house, because the form that we have is what we have to start with, in order to hold the consciousness and all the other more whatever discrimination and all that, you have to have the form in order to have, this is the base that we have to start off with for everything else that's inside us. I don't know if that's correct, so please please.
No, this is I explained for you guys before, there are 5 senses, how they work like that. They like example, right? My main question is why we have to say first, form is empty. Okay, I think that's good, yeah. Any, Deborah, that pretty, you keep pretty good, what I explained that, and not, don't just leave your note, just keep your mind, okay, like that. Then you don't need to look always, the note. Okay? You got it, Margaret? Margaret, you got it?
I got it, but it's what I understand correct. It's what I understand. I mean,
저랑 시에도 이제 떠나가도 시당 풍봉강 로당도 시에서 간이 많이 가던 데 시장 바 다래도.
So you're talking about how 5 aggregates are, what 5 aggregates are, and how they each play the role, But the question is why explain about the emptiness of form, first before other things.
Yes, the answer simply because it's the first of, the, if you think about, I think there's 53 phenomena of the afflicted class that start with form. Is that why? Is it?
제가 나도 변나 멋tem나 뭐 담보도 가르쳐. 나도 미지 템나 담보 가르쳐 보여.
그거 하원 글라서 되고 레러 예장스 그 라고라고 이제 그 레러 연재 때 그거 쉬었어.
제가 이게 가상 제가 지쇼인 봐. 나도 변나 풍봉가 가는데 가래 담보 나도 무슨 레러나 변나 수보들 레라. 근데 레라 무슨 그러 봐.
So like, yeah, similar to what Howard mentioned about, because it's very gross, it's easy to understand. Like when we talk about the 5 aggregates, which is most easier to understand for us? Is it the form or the feeling or discrimination, composition, which one, So it's the form, right? Form is the most gross one. Easiest to understand one.
그냥 나도 트립이 갈라 뺀다 풍봉가 가는데 트립 담보 트봐야 돼. 아니 수지 풍봉 찾고 그러와.
So when it comes to exist, what first exists, is the form, right?
변난 테레비시와나 담보 밤에 그러더니 모르고 대님도 봐 소원대로 그러와.
So like, when body comes to exist, comes into existence, like when the consciousness, is conceived in the womb, and then first comes what? The sperm and the egg, right?
제가 다 대동의 고만이 된다. 좀 아직 전에 대도 고만이 다 단다 하울라이들이 아니 저는 저랑 같은 걸 없어. 이제 포봉에는 문제체 레라쇼 된다 파지 되긴 사래.
Yeah, so I don't know the actual formation, but among the 5 aggregates, the form is the most easiest to understand first. So that's why it's explained.
Okay. Okay, Paya, you have something?
No, I would explain. I would understand it the same way.
Can
you hear me?
Payas.
Sorry, one for the video, one for the audio. Sorry.
Okay.
Imagine I have to study harder. Form is empty, emptiness is form, because there's 2 of me. I'm just kidding. No, okay. I understand it the same way.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
If you guys understand, there was something, some small reasons fun, then all different reasons, it's not no one say, okay, this is the preferred one, Yes, Karen.
So I read something that makes a whole lot of sense to me, and it's that conventionally when we meet somebody, we designate the person based on the form of the body. So just like Howard said, it's just the easiest. It's the first thing that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay, what's the second question?
The question was why, you said, why is it applied to the 5 aggregates first? So the meditation on emptiness, why do we?
What's the answer there?
Well,
It looks like the same, right?
I was thinking though that the 5 aggregates are themselves samsara, right? And so the view of the transitory collection functions as the basis for all the afflictions. So would that be why you would apply it first?
그래서
그래서 부모가 하는 거라서 그걸 맞아요. So you said 5 aggregates are samsara, and what was that?
No, I was saying that you say, why would you apply it to the 5 aggregates first? I mean, the 5 aggregates are themselves samsara. So, and the view of the transitory collection it functions as the basis for all the afflicted views, all the other afflictions. So would it make sense to start there? Because I mean, the 5 aggregates is all phenomenon, right?
The 부모가 대단히 최소한 되는 누구랬어 그래서.
최단주 대남 누구였어?
부모가는 거두로 누구라. 부모가 더 거래 대마로.
아, 부모는 거셔야지 뭐다. 사실내니 부모가 시험을 부모가 셔야지 뭐.
아니 또 몰라서 내내 가서 직다디 내내 가서 참아 녀모 참여 시지 걸었어. 티처네 내내 다 부모가 셔야 돼. 이제 도왔어. So, well, anyway, so when we talk about aggregate, 5 aggregates are samsara. What you said is 5 aggregates samsara?
Yeah, the basis for samsara, right? I mean, the contaminated aggregates.
Okay, so when you say contaminated aggregate and aggregate are different.
But that's what we're talking about. That's where it starts, right? If you did the 5 are of the afflicted class, the aggregates.
나도 나도 부모가 서 되지 나도 사실 고백 부모 나게 맞다. 부모가 가려고 돼.
So when we're talking about the 5 aggregates here in the context of the Heart Sutra, when we say 5 aggregates are empty of inheritance, that's talking about all the 5 aggregates, all aggregates, not only talking about the contaminated aggregates, and talking about all aggregates, So yeah, whether it's a contaminated aggregate or not, it's empty of inherent existence. So that's for sure. Even like the enlightened Buddha's aggregates are also empty of inherent existence. Everything is empty. So here, when we're talking about in this context of the Heart Sutra, talking about emptiness, yes, it's definitely to any kind of aggregates, not just talking about contaminated aggregates.
Okay.
5 that when it starts with the 5, are we to assume that that's all the aggregates, contaminated or pure? When you say, so why do we start with the aggregates? We're talking about both the contaminated aggregates and the pure?
Yes. Okay. Any kind of, so the contaminated aggregate is also aggregate, pure aggregate is also aggregate. So we're just talking about aggregate in general.
나도 주 동바고세요. 아니 줌에 담에서 디 주도 카드 주 강검년도 강아들 주 강가 고기를 뺀다. 다도 강가 누르고. 아니 올해 아니 줌에 담에서 다 미식 주샤 주더라고요.
So like I mentioned earlier, when we say there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, the form refers to all kinds of forms. Like I said, the visual form, the olfactory form, the auditory form, and then the tangible form. All these are all forms. So they're all different kinds of forms, all these forms, right? But later, when there's no eye, no ear, no nose, then there's like it's talking about just the eye, like the form that is perceived by eye consciousness. So that's like this kind of form. So the sound is not perceived by the eye consciousness. So that's different kind of form we're talking about. Yeah.
Internal form.
The form, the
eye sense.
Like we said, the visual form. That's the visual form. And we're talking about the form that is perceived by eye consciousness is the visual form.
Okay, anyway, I think the land or that so that the Zook said the Kadina Kaji Munzun Dashu that Paji Tegment, Chuje the Moons, but Chuje going to Mumatan to Titang Chunis and the Hakomar, Chuje the
I think
Moons.
the reason why the aggregate, I mean, the form is, is mentioned first, to think about the emptiness, is because form is easiest to understand, easiest, the basis to understand. If you don't understand the basis, then how will you be able to understand the emptiness of that basis, right? So first is easy, first you have to understand the basis. And once you understand that basis, then another basic basis, right? The basis on which something is upon and something is imputed. So that basis, if you don't understand that, then there's no way to understand the emptiness of that basis. So, because form is easiest to understand as a basis, and therefore, I think the form is explained first. So I didn't see any specific answer saying that that's why, but that's what I think my feeling is. And so in order to understand the emptiness, you have to understand the subject first, right? So because the form is the most easiest to understand, so therefore I think form is explained first. So if you don't see the subject, and then you want to say you understand the emptiness of that subject, it's just like that's like shooting in the dark. Without seeing the target, you just shoot in the dark, so there's no way you can get it like that. So yeah, so anyway, you can just understand, you can maybe easily understand in that way.
Okay. Yes, Jennifer.
So then it was the answer then to why the aggregates are listed first, just because the 5 aggregates are the basis for the division of all the other phenomenon? Or is it we answered why form was listed first?
부모와 대한 처담제 부모와 누구에서 니나 뒤전에 부모와 샤로에서.
되게 추담이 니게 해도 무슨 다니 시작 말해.
처담제 부모와 누구를 해서.
추대간 거는 되거나. 네가 말아 봐. 남과도 가운데 그래.
너마저 누구 말해.
너마저도 가운데 누구 말아.
그래.
근데 대제가 쭉 가야 되면 답이 쭉 가면 누구 말아 보면 가.
So not all the phenomena are combined into the 5 aggregates also. Like only the impermanent, only the compounded phenomena. Only the compositional factor, compounded phenomena. But uncompounded phenomena or permanent phenomena are not included in the 5 aggregates. So like the emptiness itself, like the emptiness of the form itself, is not aggregate, not any of the aggregates.
Okay. The answer is I think 공금이가 집바로 해서 간제 예티 지제거나 무슨 대화에다 다 되게 relaps하나로.
Yeah, so you can say easy because it's easier to identify the subject itself, therefore, that's mentioned here.
Okay. 아니 예 차상은 내가 트럼합시대 미파쇼에 배나 예대시가 예 트럼합쇼도 되라 relaps쇼도.
Yeah, so for everybody, it is the easiest, and the first thing to see is the form.
아니 다다 저도 로도도 relaps이 고 파쇼 연제도 말아.
So the form can be seen easily, so that's why you're talking about the form. But like the sound, smell, those, like it's a little bit difficult to see.
제가 배나 부모가 트럼합쇼도 부모에 살고 속에 살고.
Yeah, so among the 5 aggregates, the first one to come into existence is the form, I think. So unless we're talking about who came first, the chicken or the egg.
Okay.
But that only answers the first question. That answers the first question was why does form first? Didn't answer the second question of why do we apply the meditation on emptiness to the aggregates first?
Why do we apply emptiness?
Why was it applied to the 5 aggregates first?
I mean, why the emptiness was applied to the 5 aggregates first?
Wasn't that the
Yeah, the answer is similar because it's easier to understand, easier to identify. So that's what I'm thinking, but I haven't really seen it in the text. So if you guys see it, let me know. So this is just for the sake of the debate, not very important. The most important is to meditate, like we did earlier, and so you try to do that, by yourself as much as you can. So think about like the whole scenario, of the place where the Heart Sutra was taught, like the Rajgira, the virtual mountain, and then Buddha Shakyamuni is sitting there, Avalokiteshvara, Shariputra there. Visualize there, the whole in front of yourself, and then think that they are doing this question answer. Shariputra asking the question, and Avalokiteshvara giving the answer, and then you think follow in the same way like Avalokiteshvara said, and then meditate in that way. So when you think about that, then also you can imagine like yourself, like watching them, just like when you're watching somebody, like doing a debate or question answer, you're watching them, then you have the same kind of imagination, like thinking you're watching them, and Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra doing the question answer and asking a question and giving answers like that.
Okay. Okay, I like that. I think now we stop. You guys are, if you guys also, it's already 15. Maybe you have no time to play it. But next week, I'm not doing class. You guys also vacation. If you guys like to also do the little study, discussion, okay?
I have one thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, then dedication, if you guys like to more discussion, you can do. If you guys also say goodbye, up to you, okay?
Have a nice vacation. I don't know.
Saji perki junxing mei tang tra bri ram ling xi ni te gen pa di sangye jing du mi te hua gi droku nam dang jing la chur pa sho jie tsun la me ku te rab ten chen nam ne ka jun na chok kong ki ta dang lo son ten je du mi cha sung gi dro me mun sel ta gi ne gyur chi idam guru ramandala kamiya tayami. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenra Zig remain in life till samsara's end. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjuna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels, Savior, myself, and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue, may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mig me te wei te chen chen rei zig tri me chen pei wong po jom pe yong gang chen ke pe sun ken song ka pa lop song da pe sha ba so a te. Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Damshala. Just just a reminder that there's Guru Puja next Sunday at 4 o'clock. And if people do want to stay on for discussion afterward, we can do that. Anyone who wants to, even though it's late.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Damshala.